Hey guys, Crux here. Welcome to Crux of Crypto, and we have a red day. It's unfortunately red, but sometimes you can be optimistically happy about things like this if you know exactly what to buy and when. So this is a pullback a lot of us has been waiting for. I'm very excited to jump into this. This is actually my second live stream today. I was on TradeFly's channel earlier, who's a technical analyst that's in the space. I've worked with them in the past, and it was just very awesome that I'm starting to guest on other channels. But today you're here, you're on my channel. Crux of Crypto is where it's happening. And I see a couple people in chat. I see Sander already having some pretty scared feelings about not just Keeta, but the markets in general. And I'm here to kind of cool it off because this is the most important time to be tuning in. Whenever you have very little streamers, people are running away from the charts and the markets. This is when you need the hopium and the motivation to understand why you're here. So if this is your first time, again, I am Crux. Smash that like and make sure you subscribe because we're going to go into quite a bit of alpha today. Now the news today is a little bit different than most days in general. It's not super heavy in terms of like this is a bullish like headline of the day. It's like if you know what to look for, days like today are just awesome in my opinion. So I have some dry powder on the side. I've actually been thinking about deploying a little bit. So within this live stream, I'll make sure I hit what projects that I'm going to be looking at. And then again, make sure you like and subscribe because that's how we get our voice out there. I see Trade Intuition, shout out Trade Intuition. I was checking out your live stream yesterday actually. So it's awesome that you're here and supporting the cast. I need to jump on the crypto mindset live stream with you guys. So I love it whenever fellow live streams are in here supporting because we're all we have. We're definitely the pioneers in this space. We're so early in crypto, guys. Like very few people have exposure to Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP. Right now, it sounds like it might be a little, quite a bit, but in the grand scheme of things, my cousin doesn't know much about crypto. My aunt might not know anything about crypto. Our parents are barely getting involved in this stuff. So once you hear the key words to figure out what gets somebody into crypto, that's what we have to do as content creators and believers in the space because digital ledgers are not going anywhere. All right. So without further ado, I see a lot of comments, but I could sit here all day. I want to make sure I get you guys the alpha. So what I'm looking at today, if you look at this overall market cap a week ago, it was super optimistic. You're looking at a $4.25 trillion market cap overall. This includes stablecoins, which is fine. I like to consider stablecoins part of this because it's dry capital on the side, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. So, stablecoins ever since the Genius and the Clarity Act got passed earlier this year, they have been on fire, and I like it. So we see a lot of projects that are starting to deviate a little bit. I'm gonna quickly jump into the trending projects and then we'll move on to some bangers inside the top 100 that I'm looking to scoop up. But PancakeSwap is a notable project that has been sticking out. And if you know how to catch trends, you could have gotten in early on this one. PancakeSwap was a banger last bull market. This is not its first cycle. Binance Chain has came back to play within the past 2-3 weeks, mainly off of the Aster news. But this chart, it looks rough, right? Because way back here in the last bull market, PancakeSwap had very little competition. This is whenever very few dexes were around in crypto. You had the Uniswaps, you had the PancakeSwaps, you had the 1 inch and all these other exchanges. But nowadays you have perp dexes that are absolutely like exploding. So there's going to be a lot of competition nowadays, and you have to be more keen in what to invest in this day in time. So last bull market, if you were around, you could have thrown anything at any project, any amount, and you're going to make money. But there's a lot of projects that have not gone back to their their previous all-time high, and that's because the competition is stiff. Even Ethereum. So if we go back and look at Ethereum, this competition is the most in crypto. So if we look at the chains, you have stuff like Linea, which is a scaling solution. Then you have Arbitrum, then you have Optimism, then you have Polygon, and all of these different scaling solutions built on this network, not including the base token that's going to launch later on, probably next year. All of this competition in crypto, guys, and this is something to understand is Bitcoin is the king, and I want you guys to understand that because a lot of people are fading Bitcoin because you can't get the crazy sweet returns, whatever. But Bitcoin doesn't compete with any of these really. Bitcoin is in a league of its own. It is a store of value, and it's going to do its thing. If we want to pick the gems and the right plays, I usually go through the trending projects every single day as an analyst, and I always bring them up every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, Pancake Swap, it's riding that BNB hype. BNB, fun fact, I'll talk about here in a little bit, but it just may have overtaken one of your favorite projects, and that's a little hint, but Pancake Swap might be behind that. So, Plasma, that's a project I talked about actually the day it dropped. I want to say 10 days ago, maybe at this point. Yeah, probably last week whenever it dropped, I talked about this project. But stablecoins, that's a $2 billion investment in the biggest stablecoin out there, which is Tether. I think Plasma is not a bad investment. I typically don't like to invest in projects that automatically have billion-dollar market caps. At this point, it was like 2 billion, I think, very quickly. Actually got up to 3 billion and then has retraced. I think this is a solid buying opportunity for this project only because, well, a couple reasons. You have the BNB network. This thing's on fire. You have Tether behind. Well, it's an investment in Tether, $2 billion worth of USDT stable tokens. And I like to see layer one solutions that are built specifically for tokenizing the US dollar. So XPL, solid project. This thing's popping off. If we see a pattern here, we have to say Binance is crushing it. I'm not going to go degen into this thing. It's been a while since I looked into this. I want to say it's like the pump.fun community for the Binance network, if I'm not mistaken. I know 4 has something to do with CZ himself, but I'm not saying he's an advisor or part of this project, but he is like the creator of that 4 meme, and I forgot exactly what it derives from. Stable, I talked about this in my either my top 3 projects to buy during the dip, which I dropped last week, or my top 5 projects to buy in October. And this project's dope because the co-founder Tether founded this, and first of all, you don't ever bet against Tether. Those guys have $180 billion in stablecoins, and that is not a smart move to fade them. So Stable, their co-founder, they come through and they create quote-unquote stablecoin 2.0, which is the only difference is instead of being backed completely by like treasuries mainly, is how stablecoin makes Tether makes all their revenue. Stable focuses more on real-world assets and higher, in my opinion, like higher risk yields. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. 160 mil market cap is super low for something that has this kind of potential. But always keep in mind, crypto is all about risk to reward. So if your appetite is not super heavy, don't come in here swinging, 20% of your portfolio at some token that just launched 10 days ago, right? These are the type of plays that I talk about, and I'm motivated and, I'm highly convicted in them, but most of them don't even make up 1% of my portfolio. So for those that know, they know. And I have over 70 different cryptocurrencies because I'm a believer in visionaries and I'm a believer in helping people that want to help the world. So a lot of tokens like Stable, for example, I feel like can make our space better. All right, let's move on to a couple more trending cryptos and then we'll jump into some news and some Q&A. Undead Games, this has been the longest trending project on the list, and it just went up 58% today, which is insane. So again, if you watch my live streams, this is something that like no other content creators are doing. Let me jump out of the way. I talk about the trending projects, like every single live stream. I go into the trending and why is it trending? Most likely you haven't heard of Undead Games, but I mean, you've heard me talk about it last week and the week before, and I think it's been trending for a whole month since I've been live streaming. So, and again, it's at all-time highs. So, there's a lot of times where you don't even have to do fundamental analysis. I don't need to know the team. I don't need to know the tokenomics. Sometimes you just got to know what is trending and you can make money off of it, right? So not many projects are at their all-time high. This thing, I'm not going to go tell you to ape into it, especially whenever gaming itself hasn't done very, very good. But, I mean, money can be made if you know what is trending. CZ's Dog, another BNB token. That's a meme play. I think this was like Q1, going into Q2 this year. CZ, he name dropped his dog's name, which is Broccoli, and there was like 5 projects that popped up, and it's good to see the clear winner in this one. If you want to have some fun and memes, go ahead. I'm not doing it. Aster, I'm a very big believer in this project. I think one day this thing has easily, well, I'm not gonna say easily, but top 20 potential. Perp dexes, you have a collaboration of leverage trading. So you could do up to 500x leverage on some of this. Do not trade 500x leverage. I might have to say it again, but don't ever trade 500x leverage. They allow you to do so. Now, I understand, 10, 20, maybe even 50x leverage. These platforms have the liquidity to allow you to do so. And again, it's not just like a decentralized exchange. You're leverage trading, you're gaining yield through stuff, through items like liquidity pools, but then also there's borrowing and lending involved in these things. So these are all-in-one applications. Aster has changed up the space, and you can see all these trending cryptos. A couple more down, you see BNB. Over half of these are Binance tokens. And I'm not going to talk too much about Binance right now because I'm going to have a story later. But then you see Hyperliquid. This thing is catching the smoke, about to go outside the top 20. And that's really because the perp era is in play. Another play that we talked about in our Discord is Avantis. So this project is kind of like the base version of what Aster's doing. Now, understand, Binance's network is way bigger than Coinbase, So in the United States, we're super happy about Coinbase. Go Brian Armstrong, whoever. Binance laughs at us. Like the amount of trading volume, you're talking 13 to 15 times more than Coinbase that's going on in that network. So that's something you have to understand is all of these exchanges are very similar in nature. They have like the YZI Labs. It's going to be like the comparable version of what Coinbase Ventures is. So these guys are continuously investing in all these projects at very low prices. They're probably getting tokens at a fraction of the discount that we do, but understand that they're going to go out there and try to solve all the issues of Web3 on their behalf. So then that's whenever you get the Avantis versus the Hyperliquids versus the Asters of the world. So ERPDEX era is here. I'm here for it. I own some Avantis. It just got down to $1, and I see it's not trending today, unfortunately. But I think it's a solid pickup. If you don't have any exposure to these perp dexes, what are you doing? Again, not financial advice, but I think a good maybe 5% of a portfolio should be in Hyperliquid, Aster, Avantis, or some of these other, plays that are allowing you to do leverage trading because you're starting to get the best fees on these platforms. So something to look forward to. I like it, and I like competition. So all right, we got some Zcash. I'm not a big fan of this one. This thing has been running parabolically. Privacy blockchains. Dang, this thing is crushing it, which is fine. Sometimes you just miss out on projects. Something like this, I would not go and ape into. You're looking at something that's in its third cycle. So you see that it ran the 2017 hype. It actually set a new higher high in 2021. This is an extremely bullish chart, y'all. I can't really name many projects that have done what this is doing. Set a new higher high every single bull market for 3 straight bull markets. So even, I think Ethereum did set a new all-time high, if I'm not mistaken. It might have gotten to like 4,900 earlier this year. But then Ethereum is one of the only ones. Then you have like maybe Binance Coin, who set a new all-time high earlier this year. But man, Zcash, don't sleep on this one. I'm not a fan of privacy tokens. If you hold some privacy tokens, I ain't hating. Monero, this one, I'm not hating. It's just not my thing. So, all right. And let's talk about a couple more, and we'll jump into the Q&As before the news. So we got some Linea. A lot of people have been asking about this one in Discord. And I was wondering, why is this thing trending? For like, I want to say like 2 or 3 live streams, I talked about Linea, and this was before the Swift announcement. So last week, Swift announced that they're partnering with Linea, and if you don't know Swift, they're the biggest global payments network in the world. They're the ones moving about $5 trillion a day in global payments, and they're tied into our networks like FedNow. So Linea is a scaling solution built on Ethereum. So, they're also tied into the MetaMask team. I'm not a big believer in investing directly into scaling solutions on Ethereum because I feel like there's just too much competition. honestly, people are going to hate it, but I think every single scaling solution on Ethereum should use Ethereum as its gas token and its governance token, because what they're doing is they're coming into this ecosystem, and you can see Ethereum's struggling somewhat right here at $4,500. They're coming into this ecosystem. They're not only competing, they're saying that they're helping scale the network, but honestly, they're competing. Instead of putting my money in Ethereum, I go and I put into Linea. And that's the biggest thing this entire bull market is Ethereum has not been able to keep up with Bitcoin because of all these scaling solutions. So I am not a fan of these scaling solutions. Base Network, I've been vocal about this one. Base Network just said that they're going to launch a token. And, at this point, if you're a scaling solution on Ethereum, you need to be settling your governance and your gas in Ethereum. And that's just how I feel, and it is what it is. If you don't agree with me, it is what it is. But yeah, it's just too much competition. I want to see Ethereum continue to thrive. You guys are just, it's like a parasite. You're taken away from the ecosystem, and you don't need all of them. Like Optimism is not that much better than, let's just say Polygon, even though they serve a slightly different, ZK rollups, different kind of scaling solutions. But then Arbitrum, all of them are very similar in nature. You don't need them all, but they're all taking market share from Ethereum. And then lastly, we see Solana. Very bullish on Solana overall. I would say it's my favorite large cap risk to reward, but I got a little news later I'm going to share with you on Avalanche. So very recently, I would have said Solana would be my biggest large cap risk to reward play. These are the plays that can still 5x, the cycle. Maybe we see $1,000 Solana in case we go into a blow off top. Parabolic season's very real. And I actually had a post the other day where I talked about last bull market. So from December, like November 2020, 6 months later, I turned 130K into 1.3 million. And I was telling people, do not sleep on what 6 months can do in crypto. And a lot of people think we only have maybe 2 months left, maybe only a month left. But if we can get 6 months and we go parabolic and we have a blow off top, I'm telling you, do not sleep. Some of these projects still have easily 5x potential in there. And this ain't hopium. This is somebody who's seen it happen live and in person. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into, I see a lot of comments with you guys. Let's go. All right, make sure you also check out that poll. Where does Bitcoin go from here? $121,500 is the current price. Are we going to go to all-time highs, or are we going down to major support? Put your take in the poll, and right now it looks like it's actually very even. All-time highs. So you guys are very bullish. I know it's a little red today. Actually, I brought out triple red. 3 different reds for you guys. This is orange, but I'm more optimistic. I think we're going back to all-time highs soon, but I'm a perma-bull within a bullish market. So hate me, love me. It is what it is. Crux is always going to keep it real with you. All right. First of all, let's go back to Sander. He was the very first commenter who commented like an hour before the live stream. He talked about Keeta. And I can't really read the top of the comment because the poll's in the way, but he's starting to see scammy stuff happening since the live stream, or since the testnet, right? So testnet happens, let's just say 6 weeks ago. Keeta absolutely crushes it. The most successful testnet I've ever seen in crypto. You're talking about some of the biggest people in the world, the top 50 richest person in the world, Eric Schmidt, who is a former CEO of Google, put $22 million into Keeta, right? You put $22 million way before all this happens. All right, sorry. Every time I say the G word, my phone starts listening to me. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so okay, so you have one of the top 50 richest people in the world who's an advisor to a couple different projects that are highly successful. For example, Render. He's tied into that network. So what happens is, testnet pops off, Google drops a blog post, mainnet happens, mainnet has a huge sell-off. These are all buy the rumor, sell the news. A lot of these people, they got in for fractions of a penny. They're buying Keeta at 2 cents. So of course, at a 50x, it gets to $1. Keeta, I think, almost got to $1.50. You know, so a lot of them buying for pennies, they're gonna sell, y'all. But remember, Keeta did not have that big of an ICO. I think when the token launched, it was like maybe 100 million, if I'm not mistaken. It comes up to about like a 400 mil market cap. Um, and then it pulls back. So that's something that you have to understand is just because you didn't make your 5x didn't mean people did not make 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 X's in a very short amount of time. So what we're seeing here is a healthy pull out of capital that happens on, you know, this happens in traditional markets. And crypto is just a much faster moving business model. If I wanted to just get rich, I would create a whole bunch of crypto projects. That's currently happening now. Allow people to invest in early, make it a proof of stake network. Proof of work is way too slow. And then you manipulate it. You launch it, you hype it up, and then you start selling. Very few projects are able to survive after that. I think Keeta is one of those special projects that has the potential. It's not just another layer one. They already have partnerships with big names on it. You're talking about VanEck Sun with their partnership with Agora. And if you want to learn a little bit more about Keeta, because I don't want to spend too much time on this one, check out my video on Friday. You will enjoy it. But don't go sell it right now. You know, the time to sell was maybe whenever probably Eric Schmidt was selling some of his at $1.50. All right. Trade Intuition says, smash that like button, and I agree with them. Thank you, Joe. What is happening? Says Emodion. I'm not the best, honestly, at reading names, but I try my best. Love getting the alpha you provide. Yeah, I appreciate it. I hope there's a little different take. You know, I don't have 50 charts to show you why we're going to go up or down, but I'm going to tell you, sometimes it's not about the charts. It's about the motivation. It's about the content. It's about the delivery. Sometimes about the confidence. So that's what you guys need. The markets might make you feel a little bit iffy, but if you have somebody that understands what these moments and these opportunities feel like, let it rub off on you a little bit. All right. Kenny says, hit that subscribe bell, tap all to never miss a crux of crypto, hot off the press alpha. And I agree. I think, you know, not every day is going to be my best day. I'll be honest. Like today, I'm still a little sick. You know, last week I was super sick, but I still have a little of that remnants going on. But either way, you know, it's Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern. You know where to catch crux. Is Keeta still a massive thing to you? Says ICANN. That's either LCAN or ICANN. Keeta, I wouldn't say it's a massive thing. It has massive potential. So again, I'm not going to spend too much on this. I'm not trying to turn into a Keeta channel, honestly. I know there's a lot of projects out there that like me. They want me to like maxi into who they are. I talk about projects I personally believe in. I don't take any paid partnership, you know, promotions, and I never will. These are all like how I honestly feel about these projects, and I do a ton of deep dives, so I'm able to compare them, and I have a good understanding on where it stacks up against everything else. So whenever I'm saying Keeta, I like it, it's because it's different in a lot of ways. You know, it's not just some copy of Solana, you know, which is a copy of Ethereum. So I like projects that are doing stuff differently. Brandon, I see you, brother. Tuning in, sir. Salute. All right, put some love on the like button. I agree, Kenny. Give this like, yeah, okay. Dang, there's a lot of likes going on. What up, Scott? Pancake, says Daniel. Yeah, so Pancake Swap, if you missed it earlier, talked about the trending cryptos. I like Pancake Swap. Honestly, it was like kind of a first mover in terms of giving real value back to the users. So last bull market, we had the Uniswap built on Ethereum. Uniswap, or Ethereum in general, super inefficient. I remember I was doing a SHIB transaction. I paid like 20 something dollars just to transact like maybe 150 bucks in SHIB. I didn't put too much in. I made a good amount of money off that, by the way, but just the network is, well, very inefficient for Ethereum. I see Eric Wallen, bruh. Eric Wallen's second live stream today catching me. I was earlier on TradeFlies as a guest on my very first channel. I'm trying to jump on a channel once a week. So you guys know how busy my schedule is. 2 static videos a week, 2 shorts a week, 2 live streams a week. I'm going to be guesting on another channel every week. I run the Gem Hunters, which is the hottest group in crypto, by the way. We run a free Discord as well. So check out our Discord down below. It's pretty dope. We have probably almost 4,000 people up in there, and it's free. So All right, let's move on to Good Day Crux, says Aaron. I don't like to see red lights today. I'm gonna just keep it real with you. We got red on red on red, but hey, man, sometimes that's whenever you want to buy. You know, you want to buy the fear and you want to sell the greed. Eric Wallen, sub Crux. All right, Crux, do you still believe in H bar? I really do, H Bardano. And I love your name, by the way, because I love Cardano and I love H bar. I like the difference. Again, I talk about difference. H bar is different because of the counsel that it provides. The consensus is much different than any other network. It was a DAG before DAGs were hot. It survived a bear market. It actually did a 9x from the Jerome Powell resignation last year in a single month. So of all ISO 2022 projects, I'm most bullish on H bar in terms of if something that pumps ISO 2022 compliancy, H bar is going to do the best based off of that news. And that includes XLM, XRP, that includes Cardano. I like H bar because the market cap's a little lower. It's a fast network. And I did compare it against Cardano. So if you haven't seen my H bar versus Cardano video, which was perfect for your name, H Bardano, then definitely check it out. Daniel says, CZ said it's BNB meme season. What does this mean? So if we go back, again, trending projects, it's insane. You know, these are all, let's go back here. These are all BNB tokens. PancakeSwap, BNB. Undead Games, BNB, I'm pretty sure. Plasma, BNB. 4, BNB. Stable, BNB. Aster, BNB. BNB is BNB. CZ's Dog, BNB. Guys, it is Binance season. Binance, and honestly, go check out this video I dropped like 7 months ago. It was whenever I was a noob, I was a rookie. I was pretty bad at making content, honestly. But sometimes I rewatch my work and I talked about why BNB, the second half, like quarters 3 and quarter 4 of the year after Bitcoin's halving, which is this year, quarter 3 going into quarter 4, why it does extremely well. And also in bear markets, it falls less than Bitcoin because the difference of a Westerner and an Easterner. Westerners, we like to try to throw leverage on stuff, sell the top, buy the bottom. Easterners, these guys like to just buy and hodl. So of course, you're going to do better in a bear market. You're going to do better when the prices are higher, essentially. You have a lot of people that are buying BNB right now. And it took a while for BNB to catch up. But if you really look at this chart, it's a very bullish looking chart. Now, it didn't do the crazy 10x that Bitcoin, well, I mean, Bitcoin technically did like an 8x. Oh, let's go here. Bitcoin did like an 8x from 15.5 all the way to 125. But, and this hasn't kept up with it, but this is a very bullish looking chart, guys. It fell 66% in the bear market. Less than Bitcoin, 74%, if I'm not mistaken. Comes down here to a 32 bill market cap, comes all the way up, higher high, higher high, higher high. This is a dope looking chart. I like to see it. A lot of people don't like it because they don't understand it, or, you know, but I mean, look at what Donald Trump's doing. Donald Trump created USD1 based off of this network. Donald Trump invested in, what was that exchange? I'm pretty sure it was the exchange that got hacked. Bybit, if I'm not mistaken. It was the one that, all that Ethereum, the biggest hack of all time, it was like 1 point something billion worth of Ethereum, was stolen by North Korea's Lazarus group. Donald Trump invested into this stuff. I'm pretty sure BitMEX, a lot of these tokens, Eastern exchanges, Donald Trump. So again, I do what smart money's doing. I don't do what content creators are, because I dropped a video on Binance and I got no views on it. I think my lowest performing video of all time has like 350 views. It is the Binance video. So I understand the algorithm, but I also understand the truth. You know, and if you go and watch that video, you'll understand this was written. Shoot, okay. Yeah, I got a pretty important phone call. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. All right, where was that? All right, so Binance token, Binance season. Go check out the thumbnail. It says Binance season, and exactly what just happened. I didn't expect Aster to be what front ran it. I expected the chart to be what we saw because um, I've been telling people for a while, Tron and Binance token are two tokens I would hold at the rear part of a bull market because they fall less in a bear market and you can still get exposure up and right in case crypto continues to pump. All right, that's very long-winded. I haven't even covered any news yet, and I think it's time to go ahead and jump into the news. So, all right, so this is a big news article of the day. It's breaking. Oracle extends negative 6% on the day. It's actually pretty sure it's more than this. This article's from a little earlier today. But Oracle's actually a massive company. It's actually the reason that the founder of Oracle became the world's richest man for like a couple of days until Elon Musk absolutely went crazy. And over 500 billion market cap is Elon Musk now. But Oracle's a dope stock. It's tied into the AI narrative. But whenever we see falls like this, especially in Nvidia as well, expect the crypto markets to take a hit. So Bitcoin, it gets its all-time high. Everybody's celebrating. Everybody's clapping. We're loving it. Boom, 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 boom. And then guess what? Oracle comes through. Nvidia and the traditional stock market smacks everything. So what do? You just hodl. This is a healthy pullback. This isn't something crypto related. It's not like the end of the bull market's here. It's not. It is TradFi happened. Crypto happened. And that's just facts. So moving on to the next article, we have why I think the bull market peak is not in. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. I have a couple videos on these type of things. I think this is important to pay attention to, not because everyone is true, but to understand what each one is. So for example, you have the Pi cycle indicator. This is a 350 350-day moving average multiplied by 2 on top of the 111-day moving averages. And when they cross, this has called the Bitcoin peak within 2 days for the last 3 bull markets. So that's my favorite indicator up there. It's only 62% accurate at this point, but none of these, and there's how many of these? There's 12 of them that are solid indicators, and none of them have hit 100% yet. And that's kind of what everyone's waiting on. Which indicator is it going to be that tells us when to sell the top? Is it the Pi cycle, which is the best one? Is it the Puel multiple? I think the Puel multiple this might be the miners one if I'm not mistaken. Whenever the miners had held for a year or longer, I believe it is. Like you got the Bitcoin rainbow chart, days of ETF. So this is a new one, days of ETF net outflows. A lot of these have to do with taking profits. So if somebody's holding Bitcoin for over 100 days, expect them to take profits. It's only smart. So I would definitely consider taking a look at some of these indicators because you might want to add them to your bag on when you think that the cycled peak is in. But I will tell you, this cycle is definitely different so far. We have treasuries that are flooding into crypto. AVAT, AVAT is a ticker, is the newest one on the market. Hundreds of millions of dollars going into Avalanche. I talked about the $500 million one for SUIG, which is Lions Group Holding. They rebranded. These are NASDAQ listed companies, y'all. These are not small companies. And we're starting to see them flooding into crypto. And this is the biggest reason I think we're starting to see a difference in the cycle. I wasn't the biggest fan of ETFs. I think ETFs are still retail driven, but treasuries are not. Treasuries are cold hard capital of companies putting them into crypto projects. And most likely sitting on them. I don't think a lot of these treasuries are going to be sold on the behalf of investors or stock shareholders. So I'm very interested to see where we go from here. And honestly, I've been in crypto for many years. The next 3 months are going to be the most uncertain I've ever felt. So make sure you smash that like, hit subscribe, join our Discord, and follow on X because I'm going to be here telling y'all every move that I'm thinking. And, nobody ever went broke taking profits. All right, let's get back to the news. All right, this one's cool. I got a little 3-banger for you. S&P 500 has launched the Digital Market Index. Now, I'm about to get on the S&P for a second, but a mix of 15 major cryptos and 35 crypto-related stocks. First of all, this sticks out to me. They chose 15 cryptos and 35 stocks. What are you doing? It should be the other way around. But here you go. 35 crypto related stocks, 15 cryptos. You know, in my opinion, you should be holding Bitcoin. Why not hold Bitcoin? Why are you going to go buy, you know, IBIT or these other things, ETH instead of ETH? Like, I want to see cryptos being purchased. But that being said, these crypto related stocks typically are buying crypto on behalf of investors and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, I would much rather see them investing more heavily in cryptocurrencies as opposed to tokenized versions of them or shares or whatever. But either way, I'm excited because S&P 500 is a name second to none in terms of exchange traded funds. It's what Americans know, what we trust. And what better way to bring exposure to the masses than the biggest name of the biggest publicly traded exchange traded fund, S&P 500. So I like to see it. And here you go on which ones they're choosing. Let me see if I can go ahead and make this a little bigger. All right, I can't. So I'm gonna read it for you. And obviously the weight's gonna be different. So they're not gonna hold just as much as crypto 1 as crypto 10. They're gonna hold more Bitcoin than they have Hyperliquid. My biggest question is, why is Hyperliquid even on there? Anyways, so Bitcoin's the first, Ether second, XRP is third, Binance Coin is fourth, Solana token's fifth. So there you go. Smart money. I can tell smart money's involved in this because they did not dodge Binance token. Even Tron, y'all. Tron is the biggest. There we go. Hit the wrong button. Tron is the biggest USDT provider. They're holding close to I want to say like $80 billion worth of USDT. They're the ones who people are using for peer-to-peer daily payments for, you know, jobs and stuff. So people don't talk about Tron because it doesn't get clicks. Binance, Tron are solid projects. Stop fading it. And you can see smart money. These guys understand what's going on. You got Solana, you got some Cardano, Chainlink, Avalanche, and then Hyperliquid. So the only project on this list I would not agree with would be Hyperliquid. In terms of the top 10 cryptos, now it's going to be important to note Hyperliquid is going to break its way out of the top 20 like I just showed you. Now, why didn't they choose token number, 16 or so? Let's go ahead and quickly find what I would replace Hyperliquid for. So again, going down the list, you got Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, Binance Coin, Solana, Tron, Cardano, Chainlink, Avalanche. These are all projects that clearly should be on the list of a top 10, but I'm gonna replace Hyperliquid probably with Dogecoin, honestly. And I know people hate that, but I'm very bullish on Dogecoin as a whole. But if you're not a meme guy, I understand. Even Sui, like y'all are fading Sui and putting Hyperliquid over Sui. So yeah, I don't know what's going on over there with the S&P people, but I don't know, maybe they should hire Crux. Because I feel like I understand this stuff more than they do, but maybe I don't. All right. Anyways, this is okay. Going on to the next. This is still considered the same news article, but I want to tell you guys why I've been super bullish on Avalanche. This needs to get out of the way. All right. So the S&P 550 Avalanche, they come out, they talk about what I just talked about, and they're saying we're the ones that are providing a lot of this. We're the ones who got added to that list, and they are not lying. So let's go ahead and do a monthly wrap up of what Avalanche has done, and I'm gonna be very quick with this. And earlier I posted, I don't know any month in crypto that any project has done more than Avalanche did in September. And I'm talking about what did they complete. So you're talking about 5 years of building, $726 million in RWAs, $4 billion transactions. So this is like the end goal. This is where they're currently at. But if we just look like 37 days ago, you're talking about a chain that, well, first of all, let's go back up to the C chain. The C chain is going to be the main chain. This is where most of the transactions are happening. It is at an all-time high. You're starting to see 2.26 million transactions in a single day. So these are all-time highs that are happening. TVL doubles since April, $2.1 billion in the last couple months. DEX volume surges. So we're starting to see a chain wake up in real time. And not to mention, and I talk about it in my Avalanche versus Sui video, that Avalanche has the best partnerships in all of crypto. You got Franklin Templeton, you have BlackRock, you have Fidelity, you have VanEck, You literally have the biggest asset managers in the world behind Avalanche. So this is another thing to consider is even the stablecoin adoption, up 41% in the past 30 days. This blog just got released a couple hours ago, so I haven't had enough time to wrap my complete thoughts on it, but there's a couple more things I want to show you. And like this far down, and we're talking about partnerships with FIFA, for example. FIFA is not a small name. You're talking about the biggest sports brand in the world, by the way, which partnered with them. And you have Wyoming's Frontier token, which launched last month, the first state-issued, fully backed treasury. So shout out Wyoming. And then this is the biggest thing of all of it, in my opinion. Real world assets surges $726 million. So it's up 50% in 30 days, guys. And you have Skybridge's $300 million tokenization round. You have Avalanche, who just sold $1 billion worth of their tokens at a discount to these companies, and they are just absolutely crushing it. I love to see it. And you can see it in the chart. So Avalanche has outperformed most large cap cryptos as of recent, and I'm a big Avalanche bull. All right. So on this note, let's go ahead and jump into some more Q&A, and then I'll jump back into the news. All right, so we got 65 viewers. Love all you guys. Thank you guys for being here and supporting me. All right, got a good amount of questions. What is happening? I'm so scared. I'm about to sell my Shiba. HBardonna, if you're gonna sell your Shiba, put into like a Doge, for example. I whenever I swap from a crypto to another crypto, I try to keep the same niche, just the one that's the better variant of it. Unless your allocations are all jacked up. So for example, like I think 10% of a portfolio in AI is okay. I think 10% of a portfolio in memes is okay. 5% in games. DePIN, maybe 5 to 10%. Something like decentralized science, you don't need any exposure. Maybe 1% max. So I always look at it by niche, but if I'm going to swap one project for another, if my allocation by niche is correct, I'm going to do the better variant of it. So instead of SHIB, I'm going to find one that has a better risk to reward. In terms of memes, I think your best risk to rewards from swapping from SHIB would be, if you want to stay not risky, Doge. If you want to get a little bit of risk, I would throw that into Bonk. And if you want more risk with the highest potential, I'm going Toshi. So shout out Daniel. I see you in chat. This is your gem of the day announcement. I love a little Toshi in there. It used to be Brett. A year ago, I would have told you Brett, but Toshi has become my favorite base meme token. Good day, says Crux. Aaron, rather. Good day, Crux, says Aaron. I don't like to see the red lights today. Hey, red lights, if you have dry powder, it could be pretty bullish. So I like to buy the dip. And I'll, within the Discord, I'd tell you guys what dips I'm buying. So it's been a while since I bought the dip. It was like 4 or 5 months straight where I didn't buy anything. And then all these new tokens started emerging, and I'm like, I can't miss these. Aster launched, Stable launched, Keeta, all these projects started launching. I'm like, man, I can't sit this out. So I started buying some crypto again, but I'm always one cycle ahead because you get rich in bear markets, you make money in bull markets. We need to get rich, so we need dry powder when the markets dip. So smash that like if you have a little dry powder, and if you don't have any dry powder, what are you doing? Start taking a little bit of profits. Still waiting. DCA Keeta bought at 2.5K. Put a $2,500 in at $1.02. Okay, so you're probably down about what 45% or so on your Keeta bag. So you probably went from 2.5K down to like let's just say 1.5K. So you're down $1,000 on your Keeta investment. Are you selling? And you're saying, is it a good idea to DCA now with another 2.5 to average 75 cents? That's a good question. So $2,500 is a lot of money. It's all about percentages. I wouldn't hold like over like 3% of my portfolio in something very speculative like Keeta. I'd actually probably hold less. So maybe like, I think right now I hold less than 1% of my portfolio in Keeta. But 1% to one person could be a lot different than 1% to another. So, if 2.5K is maybe 1% of your portfolio, you have 250,000 in crypto, I would say, yeah, I would probably DCA that one because I think right now, Keeta is a steal at 50 cents. What up, Crux, says Ryan. Thoughts on syrup? It's been a little while. With all this competition going on, so the chart's bullish. I know that. Let's go ahead and jump over there, quickly look at it, and then we'll move on to a couple more questions. Syrup, and then yeah. So these TradFi type plays with fairly lowish market cap. I mean, it's a bullish looking chart. I know. I mean, technically, these are slightly lower lows and slightly lower highs technically. So we are starting to go into this wedge-like pattern that should break out within the next month or so. If it breaks out and Bitcoin's bullish, this thing's going to break out to the upside. So this is a very bullish looking chart. So just going purely off the technicals, I like what I see here. As far as the fundamentals, this is the most competition in all of crypto. We're talking about real world assets. We are talking about DeFi. There's no bigger competition in crypto than DeFi. So in all these projects popping up, especially with perp dexes, I just don't know if this is the right play. Again, I always go by risk and percentage allocation. So if I'm not going to tell you to sell your syrup because it's not a bad play, I just showed it to you. I just wouldn't hold over 1% of my portfolio in something like that because the competition is high and mighty. All right, and while I have the screen up, let's go ahead and jump into a couple more news articles. Yeah, so I went through that one. All right, article of the day. Well, there's a couple other articles bigger than this one, but BNB, just flipped XRP. That's crazy. It was not on my bingo card. XRP, the ultimate payments network ever, according to some, just got flipped by CZ's baby, BNB. So Binance token, it's came to play. It's proven itself. It's not really, I mean, it's separating itself from the rest of the market. And I don't think this is going to be very long lived. I think XRP is going to outperform BNB going into the next leg. Mainly because BNB is just so heated up right now. I think there's going to be some profit taking going on, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that actually not happen. So I like it. I like both these projects. I don't hold any BNB. I do hold XRP, so take that with a grain of salt. I don't think the top 3 BNB deserves it, but that's neither here nor there. And I always look at use case. Why is okay, so you got Bitcoin, that clearly is number 1, peer-to-peer store of value. Ethereum, you create smart contracts, you get to keep number 2. BNB, you're just a copy of Ethereum. Like, get on out of here. At least XRP is a peer-to-peer payments network, and they focus on what Bitcoin and Satoshi, shout out Satoshi, has set out to fix in the world. So Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum should be my top 3. And then we talk about the copycats of Ethereum, the quote-unquote Ethereum killers. BNB, I don't think is even a better asymmetric risk than Solana. So, or even SUI, SUI ticker. So cool. I like Binance season. I'd love to see it, but they are not doing anything innovative over there. They are just copying what Solana did with 4 and Pump.Fun. They are copying what Ethereum did with smart contracts. With the perp dexes, I mean, they're not the first perp dex to pop off, but they're just rebranding the biggest exchange of all time on chain now. So shout out them. They know what they have in terms of user activity. Binance is by far not even close to second, crushing it in the volume. So I would love to use an exchange like Binance. I can't because I live in Texas, but they are the big dogs in the world. So don't fade them. They are on to something. Let's do a couple more news articles and I'll jump back into Q&A. All right, gold. Why is gold at an all-time high? First of all, got to salute you because you just crossed $4,000 for an ounce. That's amazing. Well, actually closed in. I'm not sure if it technically passed. Maybe this was earlier from today, but either way, $4,000 for an ounce of gold. Why are you at all-time highs? why are you sitting at like $25 trillion and the S&P 500's at all-time highs or close to it, NASDAQ, Bitcoin, everything's at all-time high. What's going to cave first? You guys let me know in the comments. Is it going to be gold that caves first? Is it going to be Bitcoin? Or is it going to be stocks? Or actually, we'll add in real estate. What caves first? Because real estate, no, though it's not at all-time highs, it is still up there. Something has to crater for the rest to move on. And if it's gold, you can bet your bottom dollar this bull market is far from over, because a lot of that risk off gold type stuff is going to go into the risk on assets. And remember, this is a $25 trillion market class or market cap asset, gold commodity, that kind of has the same principles as what Bitcoin is. So even if Bitcoin gets a very small fraction of that, people taking profits, you made a lot of money on gold over the past year, 2 years, and really ever since COVID, that's going to go into some Bitcoin. It is. So that's the type of stuff that can break 4-year cycles. So I would love to see gold crater, and I actually like gold. So I'm not saying it on behalf of your investment, but I'm saying on behalf of I need crypto to win. And I think that's the biggest thing right now that can help break this 4-year cycle is, gold cratering. Anyways, all right, let's go back to some Q&A. And I got another 8 minutes with you guys. All right. Feel better, Crux, says Carl. Yeah, man, it sucks. I hate feeling like this, but I'm here with you guys. You guys motivate me. I'd probably be taking a nap right now if I wasn't live streaming. So I need to be here. I need to make sure you guys are winning because I feel like I'm winning. I'm not selling my bags right now, and I've done very well this bull market. So I want to continue to lead you guys. If you look at my first live stream, I want to say, Bitcoin was sub 20K. I was on a live stream with T-Shroom, with Tim, with Army Piper, and with Digital Asset News. So I was thrown straight into it with the big dogs. It was sub 20K. I was telling people to buy crypto. And maybe the next cycle is your cycle. Maybe that's whenever you learned what it's like to be in crypto and you have a story to share with people. All right. Gem Hunters is where to be. I agree. We're finding those things. Also, 25% of our picks 2x in 48 hours. That's insane. 17 plays, 4 of them, 4 out of 17 plays have 2x'd after my buy call in 48 hours. That's unheard of. But yeah, so we're doing well over there, and definitely like to have a couple more members. All right, so appreciate you, my dude. Good stuff going on. Moon and Moonshot is in sight. Okay. Thanks, Crux. Been trying to tune in to the lives, but been all over the place at work lately. It's still 3 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday, right? Excuse me. So 4 p.m. Eastern Standard are my live streams. So I started about 54 minutes ago. So whatever time that is for you, that's whenever we go live here. And every single live stream, I started exactly on time. I have not been late yet, knock on wood. That's a militaryism. I was in the Army for 9 years. Infantry, engineers, I did it. So that has trained me to do well with time and using time to make sure that I'm here and present for you guys. I think Binance is just too out of reach for most people. No, it's too expensive, says H. Bardano. I disagree with this, though I did say BNB is not the best asymmetric risk out there. I think in terms of what crypto is as a whole, we are so early. Binance token, it's probably going to be multiple $1 trillion one day. And I think the writing's on the wall just by looking at the trading activity. Very few people are in crypto, and they're pushing tens of billions of dollars per day in trading volume. Insane. And you just got to give it time, have patience. The reason BNB is so big is because they have whales that are hodlers, so they're not dumping on you, at least that we know of. I'm sure over time CZ will dump his bags, but yeah. All right. Hey Crux, my Keeta comment was directed at a comment from Michael Rubrick calling the testnet completely fake and other on-chain analysts following the same tone, says Sander. All right, so you have people like Zach XPT, who recently came out and talked about something to do with What was it? I forgot actually, but anyways, you have a lot of on-chain analysts that are calling Keeta out for their quote unquote 10, 11, or is it 13 million transactions per second on your testnet, right? First of all, what does a transaction count as? Does spam count as a transaction? Like what does a transaction count as? And this is a very good question because Caspa just yesterday set the all-time high for all of crypto networks and transactions in a single 24-hour period. So it did 158 million transactions, which on average throughout a 24-hour period is 1,600 and something transactions in every second, 1,600 some transactions. And that's why I am not fading Caspa. And people just say this is another crypto. No, it's not. You don't know what you're talking about. Because if you knew how to read on-chain data and analytics, you would understand this is different. But I'm not going to continue to shill Caspa. It's all about what you're able to test. And if I compare Bitcoin Satoshi's vision, which is BSV ticker, this was created by Craig Wright as a fork of Bitcoin. This was a previous leader of the all-time high for most transactions in a single 24-hour period. And I want to say this one was like 130 something million, but those transactions were spam. They were not real transactions. And a lot of people talk about Solana, the on-chain metrics of Solana are this, that, they're bad, blah, 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 blah. And then other people just say, well, look at the market cap of Solana. This is a good project because it's holding its value. You know, I'm very much of the person, like, I like on-chain data. I don't care so much about the market cap. And I feel like that's the best way to go forward. And to wrap this back up to your question, Sandert, you know, at the end of the day, you don't know what to believe or who to believe, but it's not always, like spoofing on-chain data, which is what Solana does, isn't going to automatically say it's a bad chain or a bad network. It's just their marketing may be off, or this might not be something that you want to believe in. But you got to understand, no blockchain out there is going to do 11 million transactions per second. That's just BS. If anything is saying it, which Keeta has said it, it's a test net. It's not real transactions. But that doesn't mean I'm bearish on Keeta. So you can go and you could sell all your Keeta bags and believe these doomsdayers, or you found something that is looking to compete with XRP. Keeta is not taking a small bite in crypto. It's trying to challenge the big dogs. And it's sitting at a sub 300 mil market cap right now. So these are the type of asymmetric risks I like to take. And whatever the analysts say, they're going to say. So, all right. Is Isaac, IZZAK? I think that's Isaac. What up, Isaac? Hey, Crux, love the channel. Maybe you've already covered this. Got a bag of Keeta a few weeks ago, but it's going down since. Are you still bullish? Well, let me show you this. Boom, look at that. We got Keeta 2.0. I haven't finished writing the script yet. Today I'll finish writing it. Tomorrow morning I'll record it. And I'm going over the roadmap that just dropped last week. So what happened basically is I went on Twitter. I said, if y'all give me 150 likes, I would do a video on Keeta for you. You guys gave me 350 likes, so shout out you guys. I have to hold up my end of the bargain, and my end is Keeta Roadmap 2.0. So what I'm doing in this, there's four major things that are coming to Keeta as early as this quarter. Not all four of them are going to be implemented this quarter. Most of them are. And I'm breaking it down for you, and I'm explaining why I'm still bullish on this project. So again, as a fundamental analyst, all that chart stuff, it doesn't mean much to me. I know it sounds crazy. Caspa does not have to hit an all-time high for me this bull market, another one, for me to still be bullish on it. Why? Because I understand the fundamentals. I don't care if it hits, a new cycle high. I just don't. And also people are like, well, what about the emissions? And then it halves every year, and then you got to pay more to mine, and blah, 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 blah. People don't understand how strong this community is. We are ready to ride it to zero and mine at a loss if we have to. That's how strong Caspa is. And once once they start seeing that these people are not going to fail, That's whenever the big money really comes in. So that's what happened with Bitcoin. Go look at Bitcoin's first 4 years, and it's important to note Casp was only 4 years old. Go look at Bitcoin's first 4 years, and it looks exactly like what Casp was going through. So, all right, yeah, big fan of Keeta still. So check this out. Friday it drops, and also look, you ain't gotta wait till Friday for this one. We got Render versus Tau. So if you're holding Render or Tau, put it in the comments. Which one do you think is going to win this battle? I'm going to put a poll on X later today. And again, this video drops in 24 hours. Which one's going to win? I mean, I've already recorded it. It's being edited. Hopefully it'll be done tonight. But there's a clear winner in this one. To me, it wasn't very close. Now, the market caps are fairly close. And most of you are probably holding one or the other. Some of you, like me, are holding both. I like them both. But there's only one winner, because if there's not a winner, it's too boring. You guys want a winner. I know the first first video I did it, you guys were upset I didn't put a winner. So I'm like, all right, every verse video I do, which are my best viewed videos, one of them, Sui versus Say, got 5,500 views. That's insane for a channel my size. So I'm getting those views, and it's all because of you. But the biggest ones are those verse videos. You guys love them. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, these things take me forever to make, because I have to understand the intricacies of both of these. And I'm talking about the teams, the tokenomics, who are the insiders, who are the partners, what are this, what's that, what's the use case, what's trying to solve, what's the competition, blah, 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 blah. So these are two solid projects. I love them both. Versus videos, more are coming in your direction. I'm going to try to do one every 2 weeks. So I'm not sure what the next one is. If you guys have any verse videos ideas, let me know. I have a ton of them that I've already done. I think this is my 6th or 7th. So, hey, and then I need to make a graphic to make it easier for you guys to understand which is what. And then you can follow along in my verses series. All right. And just to wrap this up, let me throw a couple funny things at you. Excuse me. Understand. You have a voice. Don't be that one account on X. So what this says is small accounts that tweet and still get 0 likes. This was me. This was me like literally a year ago. And now I'm at like 1,400 followers on X. But you are not too small to make a difference. Continue to tell your parents, your friends, your girlfriend, whatever. Continue to tell people in your life that it's here to stay. We have a crypto task force. We have a treasury that's backed by confiscated funds. We have the Genius Act. We have the Clarity Act. We have Cardano, Solana, XRP, Ethereum, Bitcoin, American-made cryptos that we are looking at, accumulating more. We have 50 different states that are exploring this stuff. I can go on and on. So all it does is, you just speak as if people are responding to you, and that's where I wasn't. My first live stream, it didn't have the most views. I would drop a video, get 100, views or whatever. I treat it like I'm getting thousands of views. And whenever you see one day when I have, 5,000 people watching my live stream, it's going to be the same as I'm doing now. So you still have a voice. Act like you're talking to the entire world when you talk. And understand we're here super early and we can make a difference. And then also, this is a little funny thing. Remember, just because your Bitcoin bag's down, or even if it's trending sideways, you're still saving purchasing power against dollars. So fiat is crumbling as we speak since 2020. The purchasing power of the dollar has been absolutely abysmal. All right, and I got two more things to share with you. Here's a little bit more bullish news for you Keeta folks out there. LCX didn't just list Keeta, they integrated it into their mainnet. So what Keeta is, it's a layer 1, and so they're actually different in a couple things. So not only is like their insiders, they were given shares in Keeta Inc. instead of tokens. So this is the first time I heard in crypto where insiders were not paid out directly in tokens. The investor tokens that were sold were put as equity behind Keeta Inc. So that's one thing that makes them different. But a second thing is kind of like their anchors and how they do stuff. So what they're looking to do is go from Visa, MasterCard, card swipe, boom, and it happens from your directly from your account on your blockchain without a bank. Well, so without interacting with the bank UI. Let me make sure I clear that up. And it's cool to see these exchanges. LCX is a massive exchange, y'all. So they didn't just listed it; they're actually using it for the technology of what anchors are, and very efficient technology. You're talking about hundreds of transactions for a penny, I believe. I could be a little wrong on that. I haven't checked the fees as of late, but yeah, very bullish to see here. And also, I'm pretty sure they got listed on Binance today, if I'm not mistaken, or they're going to get listed soon. Anyways, if you didn't have enough of me yet, check out this live stream. This was earlier today. This is my homeboy, Tradefly. What up, Tradefly, if you're in chat? He is a technical guy. So he does charts. Earlier today, I went and we found the top 6 plays in the top 100 that I would buy. And I'll give you 3 of them. I'll give you 3 just as a teaser, and then you got to go watch that video. It's linked in the description below, by the way. But 3 of the top 100 picks that I would take, and you would have to go watch the video to understand which or why I'm doing it. And here's the 2 large caps I chose. So 1 is Dogecoin. 2 is AVAX. So I think the best asymmetric risks for large caps right now in the top 100 are AVAX and Dogecoin. And then I'll give you a medium one closer to like the top 50. And that one would be Aster. So there's 3 other picks. 2 of those are under the top 50. And I'm sure you guys know which one, at least one of those are. But anyways, so let's read a couple more Q&As and then I'm out of here. Oh, dang, y'all are talking about Tau. Dang. All right, yeah, so Tau, you guys love Tau. I don't see many render fans. Mike is a render fan. Trizzle, Tau. And I own a lot more render, says not, but not as on Team Tau. So you guys are definitely some Tau fanatics. And I'm not going to tell you which one to be happy. You have to tune in to understand which one's what. But I'll tell you, you're going to learn a lot from that video. And it's 10 minutes long. So it's a little bit longer than most of my versus videos, but it's very entertaining. I'll tell you that. Good day, Crux, says Kenshi. Good day. You might have missed most of the live streaming. Go back and watch it. And make sure y'all comment. You know, all the comments you do, I definitely reply to all of them. And it helps boost my channel. So I think one day, you know, and I know this is a very big take to make, but I think one day I'm going to be one of the biggest crypto content creators out there. And understand, you guys, you're in the top 3,500 first followers. Again, I'm only 1 month into this stuff, and I have 75 people here watching me, you know, so that's a blessing. And of course, I did get the boost from Tim. Shout out Tim, shout out T-Shroom. And I mean, I helped build Investing Bros all the way up to 60,000 followers. But it, you know, this is a movement that we have here. And you guys are in early, not on just crypto, but on this channel as well. What is LCX? Is it not Square? LCX is a massive exchange. It says it's a centralized exchange. I believe their token is in the top 50, if I'm not mistaken. So very big exchange. C5 Workshop says, I'm an UFOologist. Does that apply to me too? I don't know what, first of all, I don't know what you're talking about as far as like applying to you, but what is a UFOologist? So like, are you like a conspiracy type dude? Do you ever walk around with like a foil hat, tinfoil hat? I don't know. All right, interesting. Keeta making moves already. Good to see. Right. So again, I can't tell you what the exact price of Keeta is right now, but I can tell you what the 4 major upgrades on that roadmap are, and I can tell you about the 12 different bullet points that they have on that roadmap. And that's how I evaluate stuff. I don't look at the price, I look at the potential. Keeta listed on Uphold today or yesterday. Yep, that was today. Eric Wallen, thank you for bringing that up. Trade Intuition, love you, brother. Hey, I need to come on your stream, maybe next week. Hit me up on Discord. Hey, it's guest season. Crux is out here, you know, trying to collab and get in with the big dogs. So, Trade Intuition, Joe. Maybe we can set up something next week. Looking forward to it, says Kenshi. Yeah. So, I mean, most of you guys think Tau. They're two different use cases. One's for rendering platforms like 3D graphics, visual effects, and over here, you fun fact, the first person that created video games, Jules, whatever, I forgot his last name, is the founder of Otoy Inc., which is the creator of Render. So there's a lot to learn, the more you know, whenever you look in deep. But then over here, you got some of the smartest people, that aren't the Hollywood budgets, that don't have the biggest pockets, but you got the biggest brains. And I'm talking about a co-founder of Microsoft. So, hey, cat's out the bag. This video's a banger. These are stuff that you've never heard of, and you'll only know it if Crux is out here giving you the alpha, or you read the white papers and you become a nerd yourself. You can choose one or the other. Aster is going to push to the top by CZ. It's getting its own layer one. I could see that. So Forbes just recently came out and said CZ is worth like $82 billion. And CZ came out under the post and said, that's not true. I have less. So here's the thing. I think that CZ one day will probably be one of the richest people in the world. And it's based off of his investments in Bitcoin and Binance token. So you got to remember, Elon Musk, you have Tesla, right? You became a $500 billion net worth individual based off your shares of Tesla. Tesla is disrupting everything. I include Tesla as a crypto stock because SpaceX, they hold $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, for example. So Tesla, it's a disruptive stock. It's not a car company. It's not an AI company. It's literally a disruptive stock. But Bitcoin is the king of disruption. You're not going to outperform Bitcoin in any of these other sectors. Maybe AI, that's it. The only sector that's going to outperform Bitcoin and crypto is AI. That has the potential to, and I honestly think AI will outperform crypto. But AI is way more difficult to make it a fair investment because everything's already overvalued, sorry. So you have like Google, I have Microsoft, I have Apple. These are already multi-trillion-dollar companies. How do I make money in AI? I put my money in the bigger companies and I don't make as much of a return. Asymmetrically, crypto, you're sitting at a $2 trillion market cap in Bitcoin. That's it. That is like one of the FANG stocks. So way more upside potential here. That's what you have to compete with. And that's why I think one day CZ, who owns a crap ton of Bitcoin and BNB, is going to be one of the world's richest people. You are real and reach out. Join up with Tim Warren Trading Group and Crux will hit you up on the one-on-one. Yep. Psh, psh. I appreciate it, Not Square. Look, I do one-on-one portfolio reviews and audits. Actually, the portfolio reviews are with the group. Usually I do about like 3 to 4 of those a week as a group. Those happen on Mondays. Portfolio reviews, one-on-one portfolio reviews, those are done, usually they last like an hour. And what I do is I put myself in your shoes. Like how would I navigate this current state of the markets, with what you have? What changes would I make? Who are you as a person? Like, are you a 30-year-old? Are you 50? Do you have a wife? Do you have kids? So this clearly it's not financial advice and I make sure that's known. But it's me putting myself in your shoes. If I was, 58 years old and I had a wife and 3 kids and, my net worth was about $1 million. Yeah, I'll probably put, $100,000, $200,000 of that into Bitcoin. So, and I strictly talk about crypto. I don't get into the stocks. So I'm not a financial advisor. So don't ask me about stocks, please, or securities. Ask me about crypto because this is my wheelhouse. And I've done probably like 200 portfolio reviews at this point. So thank you guys for supporting me. All right, let's read. Aster equals Aster, not ASTR. Right. So Not Square, make sure you spell it all the way out. So ASTER is the ticker. Please don't go by ASTR. First time catching a stream, everything altcoin. Dope, man. Well, welcome. I hope you subscribe. I hope you like. I am an altcoin guru. So I think you will actually like my channel because though I'm wearing Satoshi, I believe in Satoshi's vision, not so much as a peer-to-peer, but a disruption of the banks. So I believe in that. He disrupted the banks. You have networks out there that are far more superior in a peer-to-peer, such as, Caspa, or, even XRP. XRP is a top 3. I mean, technically it's in top 4 that it just lost its spot to BNB. XRP is not a bad token. Like, its fees are very cheap. It's a fast network, somewhat fast. But I mean, nowadays it's definitely going to be losing that market share in terms of actual fundamentals, but it's not going to lose market share in terms of partnerships and real global adoption. So Brad Garlinghouse is incredibly intelligent, and I think they're going to remain a top 3 cryptocurrency. So shout out XRP Army if you're in there. Throw up X's in chat, and welcome everything altcoin. CeeLo says he's a Render fan. I'm a Render fan too. But again, there can only be one, and who's it gonna be? Render versus Tau. This one drops tomorrow. Super stoked. I had a fun time recording it. And yeah, you guys are gonna definitely enjoy that one. So without further ado, we've gone for like 76 minutes. And again, I am a little sick, so I don't want to continue to yeah. Well, okay. Let's go ahead and sign off. I have the Keeta video dropping Friday. I have Render versus Tau dropping tomorrow. Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, I go live. And yeah, check us out. Free Discord. 4,000 people are in there. And we are delivering free alpha in there. So if you guys have any questions, that's a spot you can tag me. And then last question, I'm going to Eric Wallen on this one. Do not ruin this. All right. Caspa is going to have to make its own exchange to get listed somewhere. It threatens these exchanges. Maybe when they have their own ecosystem, their volume will force exchanges to grab them up. Yeah, I mean, there's whales out there that own a ton of Caspa, and I think that these are the Binances of the world. I just don't know what it is that is holding them back from posting it. So it's very interesting. I'm not going to get too political with it, but I do think that Caspa is manipulated, and I don't use that word often. I think it could be a much bigger project than it is because the fundamentals behind it are incredibly valuable. This is a network that is in its 4th year, but it's derived from a cypherpunk and Aviv Zohar and Yonatan Sampolinsky from the Bitcoin forums of 2013, asking questions like, how do we scale Bitcoin? Eventually, Satoshi's not going to be with us, which Satoshi left before that, but we have to figure out how to do this. Then you get the Bitcoin Cash fork, then you get the Litecoin fork, then you get the Zcash, which is a fork of Bitcoin. All of these things trying to do, should we focus on privacy? Should we focus on scalability? What about data storage like Bitcoin Cash? And, Bitcoin's king. It really is the digital gold, the store of wealth. Who knew that's what the world was going to gravitate towards? Being able to protect your wealth instead of how do we fight the banks? How do we make global money? That is still an open market, and Caspa is leading it. So that being said, peace out. Jesta, I see ya. Eric, Tony, not, everybody else. CeeLo, love you all. Thank you for